George, was that every bit as tough as you expected it to be tonight?
For sure. We knew what kind of game we were going to get, with the fans and the way they play and the season they're coming off. We knew it was going to be incredibly tough, and I think it was for the first half. I think, getting in at 0-0, I think we probably had the better chances first half. But getting at 0-0 is not a bad thing, and we wanted to kick on from there. But, to come away with a point, opening day again, like you say, Friday night here is pretty tough ask, and we did it pretty well.
Yeah, it could be a good point that long term. It's always nice to get something on the opening day.
Of course, I think that's just get a point on the board. Obviously, we came in wanting the 3. It doesn't always work out like that, and yeah, like I say, hats off to them because they made it extremely tough for us, and the team's going to do that this season. It's that kind of league where every team can give everyone a game. So we've got a lot of things that we can improve on, and the gaffer said before the game that if this is the best performance of our season, then something's probably gone wrong, because it's a place to start, and we can only get better from here.
I guess it's going to take time, isn't it? Because it's quite a new group.
Yeah, time, just hard work on the training ground every day, which all the boys put in. To be fair, so yeah, it may take a little bit of time. It may take a week. That's just how the cookie crumbles. All the boys are working as hard as they possibly can, and trying to get back into the swing of things, which I think we've been really good at in pre-season. I think we've showed that we're getting a lot of new connections, really kind of spot on. And yeah, it was tough out there today. I thought as well, first game in England, to come into a game like that was not easy, and I thought he was brilliant. I thought he ratted, he put tackles, headers, put himself about. I said to him after the game that not every game's going to be like that. There's going to be games where he can get his foot on the ball and play a little bit more, but sort of welcome to England. So I'm sure the boys will build on that.
He's got that about him, hasn't he? We've seen a bit in pre-season that he can get his foot on the ball and play.
For sure, a great football player. We've all seen it day in, day out since he came in, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more games going forward where everyone else will see it too.
Nice to have Jens back at the club as well.
For sure. People ask me who's the best player I've played with, and he's probably right up there. He's incredible, Jens. So to get him back is massive for us as a team, as a club, and just as a guy, he's incredible. All the boys loved him to bits, and I think all the boys were texting him, to be fair, trying to get him back in as soon as possible.
And we obviously know who's on penalties from the first game of the season. You seem to stay nice and calm, and nice to get off the mark the opening day as well. Yeah,
for sure. Happy, delighted that it could be me that got the goal that gets us the point, but ultimately whether it was somebody else on the day was sort of not, didn't really matter who it was. But like I say, it was lucky that I got the opportunity to do it, and I'm always going to back myself in that situation to put the ball in the back of the net, and that's what I did.
And with a 9 on your back, you like that responsibility, that pressure of being the go-to man that's got to get goals this season?
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be judged on my goals first and foremost. Probably not so much by the gaffer. I think the gaffer's always been clear. I think I've always been clear to you guys that being Ipswich's number 9 comes, it's not just the goals, there's a hell of a lot more that comes with it, and as long as I can keep improving every single part of my game, then I think we'll be in a good position.
And the team's going to deal with a bit more pressure compared to the last championship season, because you're expected to be up there, aren't you? The bookies have you as their favourites, and understandably.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a privilege to have that pressure. It means you're a pretty good side, and you're doing something well, so it's a pressure that we've spoke about. It's a pressure that we'll embrace, and it's a pressure that we'll use to get better going forward.
Lovely. Thanks, George. Thanks very much.
George, do you kind of enjoy buying into the blood and thunder of this a little bit? It kicked off multiple times, fans throwing stuff. You had a little bit of everything in that.
For sure. I love these kind of games. That's Northern boy like myself. It's a game that I've been involved in plenty of times. Coming up from Sunday League, you get games like that. So yeah, I love it. It's a game that we're ready for. If it needs to be that, then I know we've got a change room full of lads who, no matter who's on that pitch, are ready to go and put themselves out there.
You're happy at times to be, dare I say, the wind-up merchant, cup your ear after you get a bit of stick, and sometimes give it back a bit as well.
Yeah, I don't necessarily do it to wind them up. It's just a thing in the moment. I just do it. I do what I feel, and when you've been getting stick for 95 minutes, sometimes you don't mind giving a little bit back when you score the goal that gets us a point. So it's part and parcel of football. I'm going to get stick, I'm going to give the stick back, and yeah, fine by me.
Yeah. The manager's kind of mentioned that this could be 2 teams up there at the end of the season, 2 teams with similar aspirations. Do you feel that with this game today?
Yeah, for sure. I think watching the clips of Birmingham, we knew what kind of team they were. We saw what kind of team they are today. They're a hell of a side, and they made us work for the point, for sure. I think they'll have a good season, but ultimately that's not of interest to me really. It's it's about what we do as a team and how far we can go with Ipswich.
Last one from me. The penalty decision at the end seemed quite drawn out. We didn't have any clue what was going on with that. Have the referees been in and spoken to you about, I know there have been some changes in terms of contact at set pieces, handballs and other occasions. What have they kind of said to you if you've had that talk?
It's just handball's a handball, you know. It's if it's accidental, if it's, you know, your arm's in a natural position down by your side, then they're going to be, you know, more reluctant to give it, which I think is fair, because, you know, you can't get out of the way of everything. But I think when Greaves is going up for the header and, you know, whoever it was, his hand is above their head and it hits him on the hand, I think that's probably the right decision. And I didn't know what he'd given at the time, if I'm being brutally honest, but once he told me it was a penalty, then yeah, obviously I was pretty happy about it.
George, I've seen quite a few people describe tonight as a bit of smash and grab game. Is that something, do you think that's a fair assessment?
Not really. I think we had a lot of good chances, you know, especially first half. You had, you know, the one with Smods, you had Tells's header right before the break, and, you know, I think we probably had the better chances. I think probably the more clear-cut chances, whether that came from, you know, a pass, you know, pressing high up or whatever it may be. I think we probably deserved the point. I think if you spoke to both sets of staff, they'd probably agree somewhat that, you know, it was probably a point that was deserved for both sides.
Do you think you'll have many harder games than this all season?
I'm sure we will. You know, as teams, you know, get to learn what we do, and you know, we get to learn about other teams, and, you know, stakes rise and stuff like that. So yeah, it's the first game. It's always going to be a tough one, but, you know, it's good to get it in the legs and come out with a point.
And last one from me, just how excited are you to get back to Portman Road, home game next Sunday? Yeah,
can't wait. It's a place that everyone loves playing with the fans. You know, we experienced it last season where it was a full house every single week, and every time we played there, and for me personally, there's nowhere better to play. And so yeah, we'll be back at training this week. We've obviously got Bromley on Tuesday night, so that's our main focus. That's not a game that we can take lightly, because, you know, they can go and cause an upset, and that's not what we want. So that's our focus first and foremost. And, you know, come Wednesday morning, I'm sure all focus will be on Southampton.